so Professor Cooley, my name is Samantha and I'm doing my informative speech on Martin Luther King Jr. I have my three members of my audience. Right here is my grandfather. He put his hand up. My grandmother's right here, so you can see he's here. And then my dad's over here. He's trying to get in the camera. And then, yep, there he is. He's good. And then my dog, so 4 if you want to, technically. Okay. And then I have my visual aid that gets submitted, but that you just kind of can't see because we couldn't get it to the TV. So my informative speech is on Martin Luther King Jr., and he's also known as one of the civil rights icons or legends of the time during the 1950s and 60s. Today, one of the most famous quotes known by Martin Luther King Jr. is, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at moments of challenges and controversy." And today that's almost like a battle cry for a lot of civil rights movements that are happening in America that can be seen actually not only in America, all over the world, and it's not just for one cause, it's for a lot, but one of the biggest causes is the Black Lives Matter movement. For early life of Martin Luther King Jr., he was born in Atlanta, Georgia, which is one of the biggest hubs of civil rights issues during the 50s and 60s. Now, whenever he was not born into rich wealth or money. He was born at a lower level education system where he eventually worked his way up to getting accepted into college at the age of 15, where he practiced to get his doctorate in pastorate in theology, and he went on to be arrested a few times due to civil rights movements, protests, and sit-ins. Another thing that he did was that he graduated in 4 years, so he was graduated by the age of 19, and he went on to get 3 or 4 more degrees. His family life and kids, so he was married to Coretta Scott King, and they eventually had 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 sons. His kids today are actually known for having loud voices in the civil rights movements that are still happening today for equality, justice, and peace that are seen a lot in America with African American people. So he has a few iconic speeches. One of his biggest ones, of course, which you can see at the top, is the "I Have a Dream" speech, which was given at the March on Washington. It was like a giant meeting for all African American people that wanted to make a change in society for how they were being treated at the time. So everyone knows the iconic line, "I have a dream," where he dreams of a place where everyone was treated equally and people could go about their lives and not feel what he had felt growing up as a child. In the bottom left, we have the March on Selma, which was just a giant walk of a peaceful protest. There was no rioting, looting on his end, but some did follow along. A lot of the people in the town were not too pleased about it, and they decided to throw stuff, yell racial slurs, and a lot of things while they walked in almost like a big parade across bridges and all throughout Selma, Alabama. The bottom right is actually his final speech. It's called "I've Been to the Mountaintop," and talks about how he's seen the potential of what the country could be and that he's seen how great it can be, but we haven't reached that point yet. We're still working our way up. This was given shortly before he was assassinated, which is the next slide. And a lot of people know about his assassination, which he was shot while he was at a hotel. There's obviously the most known picture in the bottom right where you can see him on the ground bleeding out while people are pointing up at the top of the hotel where the shooter was at. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that go around saying it was organized by the government and he was taken out because he was too powerful, when those have been debunked, and it was really just a guy who was furious of what he stood for and what he was fighting for at the time. Some other conspiracy theories that came along with it that were kind of crazy were that he didn't actually die in the hospital. He was smothered by a government agent, and all these different things that came about later on to try and, start issues between minority races and majority race, because everybody just thought that there was something deeper to it, when really it was just one person got upset and took it out on him during a moment of vulnerability. One interesting fact that a lot of people don't realize is that he was actually had an attempt on his life earlier. Akula Curry, she was furious for some of the things that he had said in a speech. So with like a lot of emotion inside, she decided to take a letter opener and shove it 7 inches into his chest in front of everybody, just barely missing his heart. He went on later to get surgery to get it taken out, but in this picture that a lot of people know, you can just see him sitting there calmly with his hands open as a letter opener sitting in his chest. And a lot of people thought, oh, you know, like it's not anything crazy, like it's just a little bit, but it actually almost killed him. Even though he had died, his death was even more, as some people would argue, is even more memorable than a lot of the stuff that he did, because his death represented that the main person who was fighting for civil rights at the time was now gone, and so a lot of people had to exercise their rights to try and make up for the person that they idolized that was no longer there. Some other followers that were big in this movement were Rosa Parks, who he was really close with, who was obviously the infamous woman that sat at the back of the bus, who refused to, or sat at the front of the bus, front of the bus, and refused to get up. And the other one would be Malcolm X, who was known for getting arrested, and he went into jail and switched his nationality and his beliefs and came out more as a more aggressive fighter in the civil rights movement, whereas Martin Luther King Jr. practiced peace and talking more of a conversationalist than using force or aggravation against people, because it was just an education thing. People needed to be educated at the time, but they really weren't. So, and then one of the things at his memorial that can be seen and is relevant to today for some people who need to hear it is still, until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. A lot of people feel that the world has not given justice to a lot of African Americans, and so people are exercising their right to vote and people are exercising their right to protest, even though some may ruin it for one person on either side, or one person ruins it for someone on either side. There are still those few people who do peacefully protest and believe in his core values, and they're still going to keep doing that. And this is one of the reminders that you can keep doing it, you just have to be peaceful. So this is my speech, thank you. And so now I'll show the audience again so that you know. So my grandmother's right here, my grandmother's right here, and my dad's right here. So, and my dog. So thank